Hi guys, Charlie Black 20 back again with my friend.
Carlos.
And today we are doing a video that has been on our minds on the subject of
Cancel culture and its effects on society and entertainment, and where it's come from, where it's gone, and where it's going, and whether it's the dangers of and the pros of as well.
yes. We're both going to give an example of where we think it's gone too far or where we think it's done good. And so, Carlos, you might get. We need the exact definition, which we have in our encyclopedia right here. Cancel culture or call-out culture is a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, whether it be online, social media, or in person. The expression cancel culture has mostly negative connotations and is commonly used in debates on free speech and censorship. So, Carlos?
So I'm gonna start it off by cancel culture has its good and its bad. I give one good example about cancel culture is they'll automatically cancel you and give you allegations without proof. Most of the time. I gave the example of the rock star Marilyn Manson, where he was recently canceled for allegations of sexual abuse. Bless
Sorry.
you. Allegations of sexual assault, sexual abuse. And like again, without even going to trial yet. Spotify is no longer going to stream. It was not, I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Spotify, but a lot of platforms that stopped streaming his music. And again, like allegations are allegations until they're proven in court. You're supposed to believe in the American Constitution and the system of you're innocent until proven guilty, and not the other way around. So that's a negative step, but we're going in that direction. Like positive things was one I'll give is in the case of a guy like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, guys who were alleged but also proven in court, given prison sentences, and yeah, I mean these are people that hold a lot of power, especially a guy like Harvey Weinstein. If these people are scared to come forward and say anything because their career is going to be over if they do say anything, so they're afraid to. So years later, it's like there's this movement that's going to get brave and tell you to come forward, and you can finally put a guy like that who's got years of abuse under his belt.
Sure. I agree with those examples for sure on where it's done a lot of good. I don't know a lot about music, so I can't really say if it went too far in that case. Based on what you told me, it does sound like it's gone too far because it's only allegedly he's done these things. Now, they're horrible things if they did happen, and he should be tried by a court of law, and the verdict should come in. On Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and Jeffrey Epstein, who we recently heard about, the guy who in jail
Hung himself.
hung himself. That's
But that's a topic for a whole nother video too.
yeah.
Because that'll go for a long time.
Oh yeah, but I do think that in that case, cancel culture was good because people didn't immediately cut them down. There were some, but there were others that were like, listen, we need to see if these highly recognized, well-established, powerful, and mostly good people actually did the things they were accused of before we cancel them. And part of it's nostalgia, part of it's bias, part of it's power. But once they were found guilty, people had heard the evidence, they came to their own conclusions, and then the verdict comes in through the court of law and says, no, we find you guys guilty. Now we know that in recent days, Bill Cosby has had that overturned based off of some technicalities, which I actually don't think hold legal water. But then they were canceled, all these people, and anybody associated with Jeffrey Epstein, especially his former manager or whatever, Maxine, whatever, nobody cares about her except the court of law, that they were canceled. And so they are ostracized completely and utterly. Nobody wants anything to do with them in this point. Well, I think it's gone too far, cancel culture, is with, and again, I admit my bias here because I love the show The Mandalorian. I love the character played by Gina Carrero. And she is a conservative woman who was a former MMA fighter. She's a very good actress. Being thrown off of Lucasfilms by the board of Disney Plus that ran The Mandalorian. I'm not exactly sure of the structure. And she was canceled on social media partly because of this, because of things that she would say that did not fit into the leftist mainstream. I don't know if you would call it the mainstream entirely, but at least the leftist, which is what the Star Wars appears to be the most popular too. But again, I'm just making a small assumption there. So she gets canceled, and then I didn't agree with her being canceled, and I didn't agree with her being fired, actually. I thought, okay, this is a woman who is an actress, a former MMA fighter. She isn't somebody who is knee-deep in politics or knee-deep in the political background of everything. She has her own views, which maybe I disagree with, and I think some of it is based off of propaganda that has been pushed by a lot of media. But I don't think that she should have been fired or canceled because, recently I've learned through certain news outlets and partly through the internet that maybe there was more going on behind the scenes with the Disney Plus or the Mandalorian board members who didn't like her personally and found her to be, shall we say, going against the flow with how they wanted things to go. So they used her quote-unquote conservative views that she would send through social media to fire her. And I'm not saying that what she put on social media wasn't problematic, at least for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she was a bad person who, I think she just isn't that educated on political reality or in political culture in this case, because
Well, I mean, regardless, of whatever that may be, man, whether she is or she isn't, I think she's allowed to have a voice and an opinion just like
Yeah.
everybody else, and not be afraid to lose your job based on just a political opinion. If you don't, it's almost like everybody in Hollywood and everybody in entertainment is very hard left leaning, and people are kind of afraid of being conservative, like by out of fear that what happened to Gina Carano, and it's almost like just you have to think like we think, or else we're gonna end your career. You know what I mean? I don't like that, because she's free to be conservative. She's free to have those kind of opinions if she wants to, and your personal account is your personal account.
yeah.
Your professional career should have nothing to do with what you do personally.
I agree, although
And
I will disagree with you that Disney is left-leaning in terms of their political thoughts. I think that's a misconception that's been pushed by the media. And the reason I say, and I'm not saying there aren't left-leaning people in Disney. Definitely there are. I just happen to think that it's just a mixture, just like it is in every other industry. Now, I will grant you that some industries, you can immediately tell that they are completely left or completely right. And they say so a lot of the time, or it's so obvious. Disney is a business. Either way they're going to go where the money is. And if they think that Gina Carano is going to cost them money, you're cut. If they thought that somebody who was progressive or democratic and putting those views out and offending certain conservative audiences, they're going to cut them so they can keep the money flowing in. Maybe Disney is more left-leaning, maybe it's not. But it's a business in the end. They're not going to cut out some of their customer base just because some of their actors say some stupid stuff.
I mean, I don't agree there. I mean,
That's
I
a
just
business, and I think we focus on Hollywood and all those things so much because they are so prominent. They are actors. They are celebrities, and we focus on celebrities so much. Especially,
they can be, those people are replaceable though. You know what I mean? Like the actor's always replaceable. You're
it's
fired.
not as easy as it seems.
Especially
Especially when it's a
relatively
well-liked
easy.
actress or actor and show.
And again, I don't watch this show. I just know I used to watch, Gina Carano fight, and now that I was reading the news one day and I just saw it come up, and I just go, like you said, it's a business. Why is it becoming a personal thing, especially over political opinions? It's like you're not gonna. Maybe they're afraid of, like, because they have an audience who's very left leaning, by hiring this person, they might lose viewers who don't want to see conservatives. And I kind of see that like a lot. A lot of conservative people don't want to, speak their opinion, or else their job or their reputation or their fan base is going to go down. And some of them are brave enough to really stand behind it. I'm like, good for you. Like, you go against public opinion if you have to. Like, be your own thinker. It's like I don't think in groups, and I just don't have this ideology where these political people, you know, that over politicize everything and
Yeah.
make it about whether you're a good person or not. It determines whether you're conservative or whether you're a liberal leaning kind of person.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that. Again, I don't know who Gina Carano is as a person. I think she's probably, and again, I'm making an assumption here, probably a perfectly nice person. I sure don't want to meet her in an MMA ring, but I think that she's a good person who just doesn't understand the context of history. Like the overall reason that people say that was the final straw that broke the camel's back for her being fired was, where is it? Ah, here we go. I brought it up. Was here we go. In February 2021, Carano shared an Instagram post that compared hating someone for their political views to the persecution of Jews during the Holocaust. And the idea of American conservatives or people who have conservative ideas within America being persecuted like the Jews of Germany were, I think she's trying to make a point that she's using the wrong example for. Like, the extreme persecution of the Jews is not the right comparison for...
She's over exaggerating.
Yeah, and
her claim, and I understand what she's trying to say there, but I don't think it was meant at any like malice though, like what she said. I mean, I think it was very, like you said, ignorance on their choice of comparison and words. Where you
and we have to remember, we're so far apart from the Holocaust at these days. Like, we have barely any survivors left to speak their minds, and people don't necessarily go out and search for Holocaust videos like me. So,
and I don't know the context she was using it in, if she was using sarcasm or just doing it to like being extreme just to state her case. You know what I mean?
yeah.
In an extreme way, she could have articulated that better. But again, like, people she's going to fight this kind of backlash against people, because I feel like nowadays we have a lot of folks who feel the need to, you know, get offended and feel offended for other people just for the sake of, you know, canceling somebody or calling them out. You know, it's like, in some, honestly, I'll read that tweet and it's not that serious. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a dumb thing to say. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, yo, cancel that person and get them out of here because they're just insensitive. It's like, I think that's taking it far too. It's like, one's taking it far with her post and her comparison, and then the people who are reading it in their own context of however they perceive it are kind of overreacting too, just to start this whole fuss and make the news. And it's going to make news. Like, people are going to buy it, read it. You know, it's clickbait.
Yeah. And there was another one that came up. This was before the Holocaust one. This was in late 2020. Apparently, and this is why I don't think she's a bad person, because she says that she was, a lot of fans were asking her about her quote unquote preferred pronouns, and she put in, to respond, she put beep, bop, boop. And I thought, I immediately went to, oh, she's referencing Star Wars. Because droids, it's like, who cares? It's like, they don't have a gender. Well, technically they don't have a gender.
Right.
They're droids.
Right.
And I thought, that's actually kind of funny. But a lot of people took offense to that and were thinking that she was mocking them. And
that's another thing where I'm just rolling my eyes and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, just grow the fuck up. Excuse me, but shit. Like, it's just like, why are you looking for things to get offended about? Like, why are you asking people about like gender pronouns and things like that? It's like, again, especially like it's you, especially you already know somebody's conservative, right? That question's already just, you're like bait. That's just dangling fruit right there for them to just get a reaction. You know what I mean? Just be like, oh yeah, no, you're insensitive to you know to trans people now because you don't identify, you don't use their proper pronoun and shit. And I'm just like, you know, she's conservative. I'm gonna tell you that, you know, it's not gonna be your liberal answer. It's like, dude, but you have to take it though. It's like, you know, people can have their opinion. They're not, everybody is talking about everybody else being sensitive, and I'm just like, dude, sometimes you guys just gotta toughen up. Yeah.
And actually, the end result of that backlash against her was she actually did apologize and removed the Twitter, the post. But she said the reason she's doing that is because she spoke with her fellow actor on The Mandalorian, who actually plays The Mandalorian. His name is Pedro Pascal. And she says whether whether this is true or not. She says that he helped her understand what they were saying about preferred pronouns and why they got angry about what she did. But again, I think that she is simply, not simply, she is an actress and former MMA fighter. She has some conservative views. She's not knee deep in politics. This is not somebody who is knee deep in the media world. She seems to grind her own path, which goes against a lot of. And apparently, again, the board of Disney Plus or The Mandalorian, however that structure works, some of them appear to genuinely just dislike her, whether for her views or for her personality or for how she conducted herself or not accepting the Hollywood fame and stuff. I don't quite understand the culture, but they didn't. Some of them didn't like her and wanted her off the show from the beginning, and so they just waited and waited for the right opportunity to get rid of her. And I find that to be very problematic. I find that even worse than cancel culture because they're just taking advantage of this phenomenon that we've got going on where you could lose your job simply because enough people have backlashed against you and then you take advantage of that simply because you don't like them. Like, it has nothing to do with whether you actually believe or not.
Mm-hmm.
So whether they do believe or not, I don't know. But Gina Carano is not a political activist. She is not somebody who's going out there and spewing out political lines. She was a actress at that moment. So I find that cancel culture in that moment went too far.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really become more political than we really see it on the
Yeah.
you know on the surface. But I think people like to be stuck in that like echo chamber of like having similar opinions,
Yeah,
and
sadly.
nobody wants to sit there and have a discussion and question things, and like really talk about it because it's like again like everybody wants to just gang up on the little guy now. It's like like don't you become bullies and you say you're against bullies. I'm like come on, dude.
I'm not
like,
sure
don't-
Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby or other figures like that you could consider little guys.
I know I'm not saying you know what I mean.
I know,
Like,
I understand what you're trying
the
to
people
say. Yeah.
like the people you outnumber like in cancel culture. Like I said, some cases are good. That was a case that was very important, and but then there's
Although-
other things like in Gina Carano's case, it's like you're gonna attack this person for having an opinion, and then it's gonna affect their job. Where it's just like okay, but
Or for trying to make a point.
if we're trying to make a point, even though it was like very articulated very poorly,
Yeah.
and that was just again like people should just be like, oh wow, you're kind of dumb, excuse me, Gina, you're beautiful, but you're still like, yeah. So yeah, you just didn't think that one quite through, and
I'd love to
people-
have a discussion with her if I could, because I would love to talk with her about this and tell her why it might have been problematic and the actual history behind it. Because if you don't know the history completely, and I don't mean like the bare surface, this happened, that happened, here's the order of events. No, I mean like the in-depth knowledge of knowing what happened and why it happened, and why people who I think in this day and age are way more educated and have access to
I
way
think
more
she's
information.
no, I'm sure she knows what she like what happened in the Holocaust and everything. And
Well, no,
knows,
it's not about
and
knowing.
but comparing it to that is kind of a dumb way to articulate your point. And I think she knows better now, but I think she didn't think we were gonna freak out this badly, which in this day and age, shit,
Yeah.
I'm careful about a lot that I post later online and social media. I mean, people will dig for like what something you did maybe 20 years ago to try to cancel
You wouldn't
Like,
believe
it's
the
not-
thoughts that go through my head to post on social media when I'm mad or when I
Everybody.
want something like.
Oh,
and I-
everybody.
And I have to stop and like, wait, is this going to backfire on me? Oh, I don't want to sound like I'm a freaking.
It might, because again, like let's say 10 years later, and you get a good job, and somebody like finds an old post about you, that you made or something, and take it completely out of context, or I like to joke. I like to joke around a lot, and I make a lot of insensitive jokes, and it's not because I'm trying to be a hateful person. I'm not, but I have a dark sense of humor, and it's a very for me, it's like you take it out of context and take it literal, then it's probably gonna backfire on me.
Yeah.
If I make fun of somebody or something like that, like it's in a joking way, it's because I know them. But then later on, it's like, oh, look at this bully, look how he attacks, and I'm just like, no. I think I had some guy's like mother one time, like I was like, and he's a grown ass man, and I'm sitting there like kind of joking on his comments, kind of making fun of him because like he does to me, and then his mom was like, your negative comments are really cool, dude, and I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm just getting attacked by this kid's mom. I was like, it's not a kid, we're we're like in our 20s, you know what I mean, like our mid 20s. Like
Mothers
you're a
will
man.
always see their kids as kids, won't they?
I guess, you know what I mean. It's like one of those things where, you know, dude jokes with me very rough, you know what I mean, and I
Yeah.
take it, but that means I'm gonna come back, you know, with the harsh jokes too, and then it's like now you're just this bully. When it's like when it's done to you, like no, but I'm not gonna sit there and just be like, well, look, I'm gonna dig something up and try to like protect myself or
Yeah.
something. But anyway, like yeah, there's things like that, and
Although, if we look back on history, we could say cancel culture has been around for a long time. It's just morphed. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a small town in America even today, if you do the wrong thing, in their minds the wrong thing, you could be completely ostracized by the entire town, and you're screwed if you don't have a way out. So, and we've seen the cancel culture throughout the entire United States forever. It could be for anything. I mean, you could go back to the time of the American Revolution, right before, and I don't mean the Revolutionary War, I mean the American Revolution, where people, if you were pro-America or pro-British, you could be ostracized within your own town like that. And so you could get tarred and feathered. Or you could have your barn burned. Now, we see that a little differently today. We say, well, it was more of a mini civil war between each other. No, it was cancel culture at its most extreme. And so we keep going forward and forward in American history, and you see like religious persecution, you see racial persecution, and then you see voting problems. Like, it used to be that if you were a Republican in the South, you were completely ostracized. I mean, you look at after the Civil War, there was this one Confederate general. His name was James Longstreet. He was one of General Robert E. Lee's best lieutenants. He was a very good soldier. Once the war was over, he became a Republican. And that was hated by everybody in the South because the Republicans were the ones who freed the slaves and won the war. And so they're like, how dare you join our enemies? And he became a Southern pariah. I mean, he was made ambassador to Turkey because it was so bad against him, so that he could leave the country for a little while until it was safe for him to come back. And he didn't publish any of his memoirs to defend himself until 1904. So we have that there. Political ideology or opportunism, however you want to see it.
But here in like the entertainment industry is where I'm saying these people are being targeted. It's mostly celebrities that are being targeted
Yeah.
for having an opposite opinion. And again, like things get taken over. Like with the situation with Gina Carano, I thought was just ridiculous. You know, I still think it's like you're looking and nitpicking for little things to try to get somebody, you know, canceled or have to come forward and apologize and just be like, yeah, do what I say or else. Apologize or else you won't have a job. You know what I mean? Like just I'm right, you're wrong. You got to do what I say, kind of thing. And it's like I don't like that whole.
If somebody told me what I could or could not say from conservative media, and they told me as a liberal what I could say, I would say, fuck you. And I can understand why a conservative would say, fuck you to liberal media. I just happen to think that it's based mostly around the social issues or politicized issues. It's not based around actual actions to a great degree. Like when it works, it's based around actual actions. But when it doesn't work, it's based around allegations, a belief, or opportunism by others. And so, if I think also a lot of us in today's culture, the reason that that cancel culture has morphed so much and changed so much and become such a culture tool is because of social media to a great degree. Like, people have access to way more information, to access to way more people, and access to, unfortunately, a much larger audience of eager listeners, whether they know it or not. So that's why it's morphed so much, and it's become more of a global thing rather than just in your local town.
Well, I think the reason cancel culture and call out culture is so like successful because like the majority of people have this, you know, especially social media. You know what I mean? Like expressing yourself on social media, everybody loves to, you know, kind of post these memes about, you know, how they're down, like they don't like, you know, sexism, racism, discrimination, all these things. So if you can call somebody out, you're almost like a hero in your own eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so you're looking to go find somebody who did something years ago and uncover this whole thing. And look at me, I'm this great person because I'm trying to stop, you know, rape. I'm trying to stop, you know, sexism and what are you pausing it? Oh, yeah, it's just my roommate
Yeah,
there.
so sorry guys, we have somebody coming in. Hopefully they won't disturb the video too much. But cancel culture is the strangest thing in the world to so many of us. But I think that it can go too far, and it can do some good depending on obviously the context. Like I don't think that I don't think it has anything to do with free speech. And here's why. Free speech has to do with the government not censoring your speech. It has nothing to do with other people saying we don't agree with you, we think you're terrible, blah blah
But this,
blah
but
blah.
this is where the media censors your opinion. You know what I mean? Because if you say the wrong thing,
Yeah.
if you say the wrong thing, you're going to get canceled.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is that most of our media is private. Now, if it was a government-run program, like maybe the government should have a government-run program to show the actual truth, rather than all these private medias that have their own reasons for doing what they're doing. But unfortunately, we live in an oligarchy where money makes power.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can see that for sure. Like, I think that conservatives do feel attacked these days, but I think the reason they feel attacked is because a lot of conservatives have gone way further to the right than they know or will admit. Not because they necessarily agree with it, but because that's the way the political tide is turned. Like, people have gone to extremes because those in the middle who have been trying to moderate and try to compromise have found that there's almost no common ground left on some issues. And some of those issues mean everything to a lot of us. Like on, especially the social ones. Like, the one thing I think most Americans, if not all Americans, of every single political background can agree on is that we hate how everything seems to be going against the normal person, while people in power seem to be getting more and more power.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there doesn't seem to be much common ground between us on like who should be how should I put this? Who should be considered American? Who should be considered not American? Who should be given the same rights? Who should be given benefits? Like, where's the line? And I think that the right has gone so far that people are like, there's no reasoning with them, and that's why cancel culture seems to be the way that we've shifted to a great degree. Although I think the right has tried canceling. I know the right has tried to cancel Disney a lot because they wanted to boycott them.
The boycott Disney, well, yeah.
And see how far that went.
And what was I gonna say? I mean, you got these people who have this platform, and you have some really smart people, some smart conservative people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Ben Shapiro's one of them, and Jordan Peterson's one of them. You got really stupid ones like Ann Coulter and who else? There's just some other dumb ones, you know. So they kind of like
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so they don't have any like they don't, their arguments aren't articulated that well, and they're kind of easy to be poked and made fun of, right? And make kind of like the party look bad.
Yeah.
And the same goes with the other side democratically.
Jordan Peterson, he was a professor in Canada, correct?
Yeah, that's him.
I actually have listened to a little bit of his talks, and I think he's always been an intellectual. He's not a political activist. He's just somebody who was politically conservative on a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was intellectual about it. I don't think he was this mad, torch-bringing, bomb-throwing, crazy person. I think he was just a little more conservative than people around him thought he was, or that the general people thought he was. He just spoke an intellectual point, a philosophical point.
But they would always ask him about, you know, these topics on you know, trans issues and you know how he feels about, you know, the biology of, you know, a man and a woman, and he'll give his definition, and he's also very conservative and also very you know, I guess now I wouldn't say very religious, but he does like give religious like themes, you know,
Yeah.
in his lectures about, you know, mythological themes
Yeah.
and explore them philosophically. And that's why I like listening to a guy like that. So when you hear him kind of try to get canceled because he's gonna be like, oh, you just don't, you don't like trans people because you don't want to talk about the right, proper pronoun, or you know, it's things
It's
like
like if
marriage,
he-
things like marriage and equality with men and women. It's like, oh, is he sexist now because, you know, more women choose, you know, feminine fields, you know, but he refuses to admit that it's sexist, you know. And it's like these
It's
are the kind
cultural.
of things.
I mean, there's some. It's and here's the thing: you could say maybe it's sexist that he said that because we live in a sexist society.
But you know, like a guy who's very studied and read and knows has collected all the data, and go like, all right, well, you tell me why there's less women in these fields and there's more men. You know what I mean? But they're also very successful in a lot of other fields that men aren't. And I think that's and again, people are going to tell you that, you know, they're going to tell him, well, no, there's this male dominated patriarchy that's keeping women down. And he's like, okay, but let's look at the data and see why this is the thing. And is it sexist because women are choosing, or is it because women are being forced? So he'll kind of try to be canceled. I think he's a guy that's too smart to be canceled, too intellectual to be canceled, because he thinks about things very thoroughly and expresses them like very clearly.
Yeah, he's not like this Steven Crowders or the
Right.
Ann Coulters. He's
Right,
not
right.
trying to talk fast, or he's not trying to convince you that he's right.
Well-
He's trying to show how he's thinking about this or how it's been studied. He's not trying to prove a point.
Yeah, and
He's
that's
trying
what
to
Crowder's
give
kind of cringy
information.
when he does that.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
he rushes-
Coulter, she's just ugh, God, yeah, I mean, she's been so knee deep in the mud that she's actually come to believe in that kind of mud.
Yeah, I agree. So that's one of those people that will be kind of like, all conservatives can't be labeled like Ann Coulter is. Like, you know what I mean? They're not
No,
all the
no.
same. Some are
I mean,
different, you know.
You
and
look at somebody like Mitt Romney or Liz Cheney.
Right.
They're conservative. I don't agree with them on 99% of the issues, but they have certain principles that they're sticking by, and look what's happening to them because of that in the political climate we have today. Shiv in the back. That's what a political shiv, mind you. And so that's cancel culture for you. The right wants to cancel those who don't agree with them politically on a certain spectrum.
well, I think
and-
the left does it too.
Oh
and,
yeah, yeah. I
and-
was about to say that the left does that, but unfortunately, I don't think the left does it to people in the middle. I think the left does it to people who are, well, I wouldn't say not the left. I would say that the center does it to people on the left way more than they do it to people on the right. And I don't mean that as like, oh, independents are doing this. No, I mean people politically in the center who say, here's what I agree with, here's what I don't agree with. I see both sides, blah blah blah. And people in the establishment who don't want those leftist ideas or the most extreme right ones to permeate into government, because they're like, then we might lose some of our power. So they cancel more people on the left when they're Democrats, and the right cancels more people in the center and the left when they're not right wing.
Well, I don't know if I have the data available to kind of like prove any of that's true or not.
Me neither. I'm just giving a
So,
general assumption.
right.
I apologize, but that's my general assumption.
Right, because I think it's the opposite. Because I've seen a lot of like, you know, again, I'm not conservative or Democrat. You know, I'm a free thinker. I pick and choose everything. I mean, there's some things that I'm pretty liberal about. You know, like gay marriage, go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you want me to call you sir or ma'am? Like, you know, all right, fine. Like, we'll do that. You know what I mean? Feel free. Should you have equal pay? Of course. Abortion, I don't care. Like, you know, there's where I'm just like, I can be a little bit conservative. I mean, a little bit liberal on certain things, and there's other things that I can be conservative about too. So, it's like I can meet in the middle ground, but I don't go all crazy about it.
Although I can see it right now, if people are commenting on this video. He said he doesn't care about abortion. He said he's for gay marriage. He said that you can say him or her. Oh my God, you're not in the center. You're a freaking socialist. I can see that right now in the comments. I can
Something-
see it.
Possibly. You know,
Because-
honestly, like,
Because again, Democrats and Republicans generally agree on some economic issues. Like we agree there needs to be some regulations and there doesn't need to be others. or we need this much money or that much money or pay. Economics is always negotiable.
Well, the thing I'm telling you is like I'm not here to regulate your life. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'm not here to regulate it through laws and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So if I agree with it or disagree with it, I don't mean you should vote for it. I'm like, dude, if you think really like abortion is wrong, then just don't do it. Like, but let people do what they want. Like, you know, it's like I don't care. You know, like I really don't care. Like, what does it mean to me if somebody else gets an abortion? You know what I mean? It's like this, like I'm gonna be this super religious person that's trying to save the world and make everybody like do what I want. No,
Yeah.
I'm not this tyrannical like fucking guy that That's why we don't think these things shouldn't even be in law. You know what I mean? We should let people make their own choices and things like that.
Yeah. I think our final moment, we should come with our conclusion now. I think that cancel culture in today's world is focused around social media, and it's focused mainly around people who are the most active or the most visible in prominent positions. And I think that in this case, the ones we've talked about have mostly been in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry. And the reason for that is because these people are very prominent, they are very popular, and they're not political figures who most of us seem to hate.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, I mean, I think going forward in the future, it could ruin a lot of things like entertainment for that matter, because if you're going to cancel somebody for things that they say and opinions and things like that, people are just going to stop wanting to be creative with their comedy, you know what I mean? And we're just going to have all these TV shows that are just about virtue signaling and always like, look how good I am, and the context is always going to be at, bullying bad, you know what I mean? Like, sexist is kill it, you know what I mean? Everything's just going to be about things like that. So you can't have real life issues and topics without being taken the wrong way. And then people are just going to no longer want to even talk about anything. I mean, I think comedy is another thing that's kind of like taking a hit, where comedians are afraid to make a joke that's going to get taken out of context, and then they're going to get canceled, So I don't know, man. You guys got to lighten up a little bit, folks. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to be better people, and change ourselves' way of thinking a little bit to a degree, but also like keep your sense of humor, and always just be a good person, man. Like don't have to just be a bully, just for the sake of looking like a good person. Like dog, just be it.
All right. So I think that concludes our video for today. How do you think it went?
Well, pretty good, man. I liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Boom. So Charlie Black 20 and Carlos out again. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video as much as you can. And take care, guys.